Was poppin', was poppin', was poppin'. Welcome to Nicky and Moose. I'm Nicky. That's Moose. What's up, Moose?
What up, y'all?
And look, you may have heard about this kid in past episodes. The one that we were talking about, upcoming personal brands of 2021. We happen to be in 2021 right now.
Hey.
So we had to bring him on, okay? So 15, right? Lives in Philly, right? Has a multi-millionaire clothing brand. Knows Diddy. The baby. I'm just gonna be hitting these air horns for a minute. Retired his mom. That's a bomb.
That's major.
Okay, I'm sorry. This is just the intro. I apologize. People. Moose, how you feeling about this person that we're about to bring on?
Yeah, man, a few words come to mind. I talk about, of course, gifted, but you talk about the discipline, the focus that this young man shows, I think is absolutely incredible. And y'all have an opportunity to get into the mind of a young man who's really doing some phenomenal things and only getting started. Like, believe it or not, regardless of what you've heard so far, this is just the beginning. So I think it's going to be a great opportunity to just chop it up with him and share some lessons with the people.
What were you doing at 15? I want y'all to think about this as you listen and watch this intro. What were you doing at 15?
Two kids from Queens, cut from a different cloth. Now joining forces, helping you to elevate your personal brand. Yeah, I'm talking about Nicky and Moose, bringing you a never-before-seen perspective into the mindset, the mentality, the behaviors, the driving force. But more importantly, the stories behind the people and brands that you know and love the most.
Now, before we get into Trey, we got to do the review of the week.
Hey.
And I hate how this is really a segment, but this says, make it plain. God uses this ministry and Pastor E to make it plain for everyone to understand and grasp. Thank you, brother, for speaking to God's people and especially using the language for Black people to walk in victory and embrace simple but necessary concepts. I didn't mess that up. I didn't mess that up. Let's go.
Good job,
Let's go.
Nick.
I didn't mess that
go.
up. But anyways, let's get into our guest.
job.
That has never
That's what's
happened. That has never happened. But let's introduce but I'm gonna let him introduce himself because he has this amazing elevator pitch. Like every single time I see my man, he had like whoever he's introducing himself, he has this like amazing elevator pitch. So let me bring Trey on. Trey.
There he is.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Do the elevator pitch.
Mr. Moose was good.
Do the elevator pitch. We need to hear it.
It was good, everybody. If you don't know me, my name is Trey Brown. I'm a 15-year-old entrepreneur and CEO of my own clothing brand called Spergo. You see right here.
See it.
I started Spergo January 20. I started Spergo January 2018. January 15th. In 2018 to be exact. I started with my birthday money. So I had about $300 for my birthday and I spent half of that, on liabilities. So liabilities, basically are, things like that you are spending money on that's just coming out of your pocket. So I was spending money on like video games, like keyboards. Like I told you, I was like into music in the beginning. So just different things like that. And I had the other half, and I just wanted to invest in something powerful and something strong. And I was just thinking about clothing just because my mom, she's a seamstress. And also like just growing up in a household where we go to church every Sunday, we getting dressed up, which is super important, so we gotta be fly in our household. You can't just come out like our household just looking a mess. Like even cousins, when they come over, like everybody got like, make sure they right. So I came up with the logo, got my first 16 t-shirts with the other half of my birthday money, $178. Got my first 16 t-shirts, sold out the first week, kept reinvesting in my brand. So with this first 16 t-shirts, and once I sold out, I was going out to barbershops every single week, and I wouldn't come into the house unless everything was sold out. I wasn't eating until everything was sold out. You know what I'm saying? So I used that 16 t-shirts that I sold out with, reinvest the 28 t-shirts. Sold out of that 28 t-shirts. Then we was like 40 t-shirts. Then we were able to move on to hoodies. Then like our first custom made product, our headbands. Then we were able to build, our online website. Then kicking it with Mr. Sean Diddy Combs. Then, the baby, CNN commercial, Times Square billboard, retired my mom at 13. Now we got a headquarters, in Philadelphia. And now I got a team, got like my whole family, and, we just all working, we all connected, so I'm 15 years old. I'm the CEO of Spergo, the biggest brand, the biggest up and coming brand, based and operating in Philadelphia. So, yes, sir. That's me.
Love it.
Sheesh.
Love it.
Moose, start it off.
Yeah. No, Trey, talk to us. Man, I think that was a great way to tell us how you started. I want to know why you started. You think about 13 when you started, man, like you could have easily been like, man, I'm not trying to be out here working, hustling at barbershops and on my weekends or time off. Like you could have been doing a lot of other things. Tell us about why. Why'd you go through that sacrifice? What's that driver behind it?
Gotcha. And actually I was 12 when I started.
Oh, wow.
But I started just because of the violence in my city. I'm from Philadelphia, and a lot that's going on is just like so much violence, kids killing kids. I remember like it was yesterday. I would say August like 14th, the year before I started, like 2017. A 14-year-old got arrested, for murdering a 13-year-old, and that hit me because like both sides of the family, were hurt. One kid is being sent to jail for life. At 14 years old, and then the other kid, family just loses, a child. So that just hit me, and it was just going on. A lot of other situations were going on like that in Philadelphia, and it became normal. And I just wanted to show all the kids, like make this the new normal. Like, look, you could own a business, you could hop on jets, you could hop in a Rolls Royces. I want to show the youth, like, look, here, me, I'm positive. I built a brand, from the bottom, and I just wanted to show you. So that's why I'm always on Instagram, and I'm always on, all these different social medias, just showing you my progression. But I really started just because of the violence, and I want to show the youth, like, look, it's possible. So I that's why I really started, just to show all the youth and show all my friends, like, look, it's possible. If I could do it, you could do it. At the time, I was 12. So if I'm 12 doing it, you could do it at any age. You know what I'm saying? And positively.
Yep. Sorry, people. We're hitting air horns probably a lot today. Definitely put your volume down if you are around your kids. So, anyways, Trey. So, talk to the people about this super drive that you have. Like, we don't see people just get next to Diddy. We don't see people get next to the baby and Khaled, and you're flying all over. And like, talk to the people, like, why the drive. So, and you know what? How, Sway? How did you get next to these people with that drive that you have?
So first, just to touch on like the drive, just having like a hustle mentality, was just super important for me. And ever since I started, like what I was saying earlier, like just going in like to these barbershops every week, that built the hunger, that built the hustle inside of me, because you would go into some barbershops and then some people would just be like, no, and I always thought of no as next opportunity. So, just going into different barbershops and hearing no, so then that transformed to like going to different concerts and stuff like that, and just meeting different artists and learning how to, talk to different artists and how to talk to managers and how to, build, relationships, but the hustle has always been important. I remember, I think it was 2019, Made in America. I see Made in America is Philly. I never been to Made in America, but I just hear that it's going down. I just hear it's going down in Philly, right on Penn's Landing, and I hear a bunch of the hottest artists gonna be there, like the Baby, Lil Tecca, and a bunch of just a bunch of artists. I didn't have a ticket, nothing. I just caught an Uber with a book bag, full of Spergo gear. I just bought a book bag like with a bunch of Spergo gear. I didn't have a ticket or nothing. While I'm just like walking close, I'm like, yo, how am I gonna get in here with no ticket? Like, I'm like, how am I gonna get in here? Luckily, I see my friend. He lets me in backstage. He said, look, Trey, this backstage, I can show you here. If you leave out, that's it. Like, I can't help you anymore. But I got back there and just, was able to connect with so many different artists. And that was just one of the times. But, just having that hustle mentality ready to go, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could have just, I could, because the tickets were sold out. I could have just stayed in the house. Like, look, the ticket sold out. There's no way I'm gonna be able to get back there. There's no way that I'm gonna be able to connect with these artists and different things like that. But I made the sacrifice. You know what I'm saying? And the Uber was about like $25, $27 in like the beginning stages of business. So I took the risk, no reward. So I took the risk. And I was able to connect with Blueface. Blueface wore Spergo. The Baby was seeing me another time. So this was like the second time I seen the Baby. So now I'm just getting more connected and I'm building relationships. And then, a bunch of more people started seeing me in Philly. They like, oh, this kid, he's around. Every concert in Philadelphia before the pandemic, every basketball game, every Sixers game, I was there. Anything that was going on in Philadelphia at the time, I made sure I was there. Even in New Jersey, I made sure I was there. I remember one time my mom got in a car crash, and my mentor, Mr. Nehemiah, he had an event still going on. We could have stayed at the house, but my mom said, "Yeah, let's go. We're gonna go to the networking event." And from that networking event, we met, Mr. Jordan Johnson and so many of my mentors to this day. If we wouldn't have had took that risk and just sat in the house from the car crash, I probably would have never met the mentors that I have. So just always staying hard working and just having a drive, just to go. Like, that's my thing, just to always like be on go and ready for the next move. Like, anytime, I want to do something, and my mom says like this is like a problem or something sometimes, because like when I want to do something, I just like want to do it. I don't think about none of the like back work that has to get done in it. Like, I just want to get it done. My mom handles all the back work, but anything that I want something done, I make sure that I get it done. So that's just a part of the hard work and the drive, being young.
Real quick, Moose, before you go, Trey, you said like there was a few keywords, like the Baby saw you twice and then was like kind of taking you serious. How many times do you think you had to see certain artists before they were like, all right, let me listen to you? Because probably the first time they didn't really like fool with you. They like, all right, this kid trying to get me. But name whether it's like a particular person or whatever. Like, yo, I saw this person 4 or 5 times before they even said anything to me.
So actually, so glad that we actually talking about the Baby, right? All right, so I seen the Baby probably like 3-4 times in Philly. Every time he showed, he just showed like Spergo mad love. He wore Spergo. He wore like everything that, he had from Spergo. Like, he wore the do-rags, to the socks, like the headbands. The Baby showed love. So basically, and this also has to do with the drive as well. I remember one time we're in New York, and we in New York, I forgot, it was like a few business meetings and things like that going on. And we're on the train, and I tell my mom, I'm like, yo, Mom, let's go to Miami. I'm like, Mom, let's go to Miami. It's Super Bowl weekend. I don't know, it's nothing planned. I'm 13 at the time, so it's nothing that I could really possibly get into the clubs and stuff like that. But I said, Mom, let's go down here. It's a bunch of celebrities. I feel like we could make an opportunity happen. So my mom says yes. And that's what's great about just having like a great parent that's open. My mom said, yes, let's go to Miami the next day. So the next day, we go to Miami and we get down there. So we stay down there for like a day. And after that day, we just like, what we gonna do? I see Mr. Sean Diddy Combs post that he in Miami. I said, what? Because I remember he posted me. I remember he posted me in 2018 when I first started, and I still had his number. We was always chopping it up. And I FaceTime Mr. Sean probably like at least like 3 times a week, every week. And he never answered. Now this time I'm in Miami. I seen that he just posted. I said, you know what? I'm about to FaceTime Mr. Sean. I FaceTime Mr. Sean, and it says connecting. Like it starts connecting, and he picks up. And it was just like amazing. I said, hey, Mr. Sean, you the only guy in Miami right now without Spergo on. He said, pull up to the house right now. He said, pull up to the house right now. You know me. Anytime I go on a trip, I make sure I got Spergo packed. I make sure I got a bunch of gear packed. So I had a bunch of gear packed, for all the children, for him, so, we came through correct, but when I pulled up to the crib, it was just amazing. It was so many, different, I would want to house management people. I don't want to call them butlers and anything. Security. Like security, yeah. People just coming up to you like, you need any water? What do you need? It was just like amazing. So we just fast forward a little bit. Me and Mr. Sean, we just chopping it up. And the next 2 days, I think it was Super Bowl. He said, Trey, make sure you come to the Super Bowl party in the next 2 days. That's gonna be at my house. So private party. Yeah. Yeah, the private party at night, the private Super Bowl party. So when I pull up to the private, remember when we met you? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, so it was a lot with Mr. Sean. So actually, after I left his house the first time, after we were just chopping it up, he take me to this private party. That's where I met Mr. DJ Khaled. It was so many people in there. Sierra, Russell Wilson, Yo Gotti, my guy Yo Gotti. I really look up to him. French Montana, Lenny S. It was everybody. Just everybody was Dr. Oz. Just it was so many great people there. And Mr. Sean was just introducing me to everybody. And that was just great for me because like Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, like a billionaire, a successful African American man. And coming from the East Side. You know what I'm saying? So. Just everything, and everybody always like compare me to him because like we both got the same hunger and hustle mentality. So after I leave that night, man, I think I cried. He said, make sure you come to the private Super Bowl party. So I walk into the private Super Bowl party, and the first person that I see, like once I walk in, and I see the baby, and when the baby sees me, he looks at me like whoa, like I remember him, but it wasn't no type like. It was just like on a look, like, whoa, like what you doing here? So he sees like the progression, like when we first met, and that just gave me just made me think just always treat everybody like with respect, because you never know who might know who. And he showed me respect from the beginning, and even now I was like 12 or 13 in the beginning. He put the $1 billion baby chain on me and everything. So when he seen me, we connected. I took his number down. He said he want to wear Spergo, to like a Grammy Awards and everything, different things like that. So, when he seen me at Diddy house, he looked at me like, whoa, like, what this young kid doing here? And we was able to chop it up. And it was really, just an amazing opportunity to see, the baby. Definitely just the hottest out right now. But, oh yeah, and then Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, he threw the Spergo sweatsuit on inside of the baby video, so there's more exposure, but the just different people just constantly keep seeing me, and you constantly keeping up with relationships. That's what really that's what really keeps you going, and they never fall off when you constantly posting on Instagram, when you constantly keeping up with the different artists. So yeah, so when the baby seen me, he was shocked, and it's just all up. Yeah. I know, Miss Nikki, it was a lot. It was a lot.
That was really good. No,
that's what's up.
That was amazing. Yeah. Moves. I'm sorry, dope, I had to ask.
That's dope. Trey, one of the things I always loved about you, man, is that super respectful, like a true gentleman. But I also know that you value, like you talked about relationships, but you also value mentorship. Someone who could have been like, yo, I'm already gaining traction. Like, I'm good. I'm already connected to a Diddy and a Khaled and a baby, but you're still always seeking new information, and mentorship is so important to you. talk to people, man, young and adults, right? Like young people and adults about why you value mentorship so much, regardless of how much success you may have achieved.
Yep, definitely. Mentorship is key, and mentorship is super important. When I get around Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, and I get around, Mr. Corey, and just everybody, just any of my mentors, I just make sure I always just stay humble. I just shut up. Anytime when I'm around, Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, anybody, and I just shut up. Like, I'm just listening, like, what I'm saying? Just because they're experts at the game, and they didn't live my life like 4 or 5 times, you know what I'm saying? And they did everything that I want to do. Billionaires, and they didn't see everything. And, mentorship is just super important because, like, they also just give me, like, straight paths to success. They'll tell me, like, yo, Trey, don't do that. Or Trey, do it like this. Just to prevent this mistake that I made before. So mentorship is super important, because without mentors, like I could have made like so many mistakes, like, that could have caused more money, more time, so with me just being in connection with my mentor, it saved me money, time, and effort. You know what I'm saying? So anytime I'm around, any of my mentors, from Mr. Neo to Mr. Hum 500, Mr. Doug, Mr. E.T., from Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, I just make sure I just be quiet at all times. You know what I'm saying? Just let them do all their all their work. You know what I'm saying? And let them show me the way.
Love it. Telling you, air horns all day. Trey, Billboard, artists, your own headquarters now, but bring it back to when was that time you knew it was starting to work? Like, what was that thing, that event, that product that sold out, whatever it was? When did you know, yo, I got something?
It was actually kind of the early stages at Spergo, not too early, but after I started going to the barbershops, and started like going to the barbershops, and I don't even know if everybody else seen it, but it was just like kind of like a hobby to me, and it was something that I know that I was gonna stay in for the long run. Like, I was doing music probably from like 11 to like 12, and that was like kind of like a hobby. You know what I'm saying? But when I started doing Spergo, and I was doing it for like a year, and then even a half a year, it was something that I like really started to love doing, like hanging around Mr. Neil. He showed me stuff that I was always into, but I could never like really learn. Like, I would watch YouTube videos and different things like that, but I just never like had like hands-on like business, like one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? Like, I always would watch Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, Jay-Z, Mr. Eric Thomas, like just videos on YouTube about business, but like for me just being hands-on and me had a business, I'm working with LLCs, trademarks, websites, and doing everything. I feel like this is my industry. Like I believe like even if I wasn't doing Spergo, I would be like some type of like CEO of something, because this is like something that I love. So early stages, I think that I found like my true love and passion, for Spergo, and I feel like look, this could really go somewhere, and especially like early when like World Star was posting me, and a bunch of like just YouTube and a bunch of kids from my city was just looking up to me. I'm like, look, I'm gonna be like the motivation, and at early stages, like I believed in myself,
Moose.
I love it, Trey. Yeah, this is good, man. This is good stuff. So the business starts to pick up, Trey, right? Like, you're starting to gain traction. Things are really happening. What are some of those lessons that you could share with people who are in the same stage now as it relates to building a personal plan, maybe even a product-based, right, clothing brand? But from a business side, what were some of those business challenges that you experienced and were able to overcome? Give us like 1 or 2 examples.
All right, so the first one is if you're in the clothing industry, or even this could actually relate to a bunch of different industries as well. Make sure, number one, you always, just get samples. I remember one time, I was just rushing, because I don't know. I forgot. It was just a lot going on at the time. Like we were just rushing to get our, summer products out. And we didn't get samples. We just rushed and got all the products. And when it got here, like the sizing was too small and we couldn't sell it. And, the summer is like just really like a quick season. Like, it was just like real quick, so we lost like a lot of money because we didn't get samples. And that was one mistake that I learned. Yeah, we had to ship it back, and ship it back cost a lot plus time. Getting stuff from here to overseas is just like a lot of time plus getting it back. So I learned like to always get samples and just to always test and just now we're like ahead of schedule. Like now we're working on fall and winter 2021. Like now we're just ahead of a schedule, making sure that like you're ahead. Like before, we were still early in business. Like we were working on season during the season. Like it was summer and we were still working on pushing summer stuff. You know what I'm saying? So that's number one. Just always get samples and make sure, that you test, what you're getting before you buy a whole bunch of quantity and you won't be able to sell it. Like quality before quantity, number one. Number two, this is for everybody, really, like with personal brand and unique brand. Always have some type of uniqueness and something that makes you different from anyone else. Like there should be a reason why, people should come to you. There should be like a specific reason that someone comes to you. It don't have to be like a big difference, but the bigger the difference is like the bigger your clientele would be, just because like just for my uniqueness, like me just being young, with so much energy, so many people rock with me just, because I'm young. I could be doing so much other stuff, but I'm just bringing it to them positive, but just always have some type of uniqueness and what makes you different, from your competitor, what makes you different, from anyone else in your industry. So uniqueness, like, is it your colors and your brand? Is it your quality? Is it, your quantity? You make more, any type of difference, will always help your personal brand, or your, or just your brand in general. Always have some type of uniqueness, something that makes you different from your competitors and makes you different from other people in your industry. So number one was get samples. That's for, my clothing brand owners. And then number two, for personal brands and brands, make sure, that you are always, like, you have some type of uniqueness to you.
All right, stay right there because you said the key word was personal brand, which is me. So I'll put it this way. A lot of people, when they start their brand, they copy somebody, right? But with you, I think, figured out what made you unique early, right? So what is that unique style in your description, right, of your personal brand? And what would be the advice that you give people to elaborate what you just said, like for those people who are starting and are copying? Like they see you and then they're like, yo, I'm gonna grab my phone. He in the beginning did affirmations. He's always wearing his clothes. Like, what would be that advice that you tell people how to become unique?
Like people love you for you. Like people love you for you. Right now, I'm in a point like in Spergo, like where people just buying like people just rocking Spergo and rocking with Spergo because of the brand and what we had, like what we established early, and like people just like the brand, because like it's fly. Like you just see stuff like this, like Spergo on the collar, like the Garrett's fly. But in the beginning of me starting Spergo, people just loved me for me, the person that I was, and how much energy I was putting in, me just giving back all the time, and people just love me, for me, and people just gonna love you for you. And that's why a lot of like YouTube influencers and stuff get so much traction, or anybody who is just like separate from everybody. Like people just gonna love you for you. You don't have to, change for anybody. Just be yourself. And believe in your own style. And whatever you do, like people gonna love you for you. Like people love me for me. Yeah. Yep, even your flaws. People love you for your flaws. Yep.
That's good. That's good. People will love you for your flaws. Moose.
Yeah, yeah. Trey, there's a
Right.
there's a big piece, obviously, and people are probably like, for those watching on YouTube, it's like, yo, who's Trey? Who's Trey talking to? Who's Trey? Where's he looking over? What's happening over there?
Who's the God
Obviously,
voice?
yeah. There's a special voice. I imagine this is someone, who plays a big part in your life. Tell us about Mama CEO, man. Just give us obviously the significance of having someone so strong sitting beside you and guiding you. What does that help you do as an entrepreneur and as a CEO?
All right, so y'all, look, this is my mom right here. My mom, Sherelle Peterson. And my mom always played like a big role to me and all my other siblings. Ever since we were born, anything that we wanted to do, my mom would support us 100%. When we were younger, when me and my siblings, me and my little brother, my sister, she's 8. But when me and my little brother were younger and we wanted to play basketball, like my mom put us in AAU. My mom put us in practice. Anything we wanted to do. When I first started wanted to do music, like my mom took me to the studio. My mom, just put me in position to win. My brother loves to play like video games. Like my mom, like put him in tournaments, and he got a big PC that's just like super, super big. Like my mom just supports us 100%. And when I started Spergo, like my mom just like loved it, like just from the beginning, because like this was my mom industry. Like my mom had several businesses before, and she took me and my brother out, to dinner. On MLK Day, that's when we started, January 15, 2018. She was teaching us about, profit and loss, just so much stuff like that. She gave us our own like debit cards, and different things like that. But my mom, she just like loved Spergo since the beginning, because she could automatically like relate to it. So my mom just been there for me, and like she been there for me, like just helping me with the ins and outs. And I remember when I was 13, I retired my mom, and it was just a super amazing experience to have my mom like side by side, with me every single day. You know what I'm saying? If we ever need to fly out real quick, my mom is right here. If we ever, just need something, like my mom would be working all day, and when she would come home, she could be like tired sometimes. But when she got home, like I had things like ready, like mom, post office, deliveries, you know what I'm saying? I want to retire my mom just so, that like she had more time like to plan out her day and different things like that. Like my mom worked at the school district, so working with like 25 kids, working with 25 kids, every day, all day can be a little stressful. So so like now we got a headquarters. My mom like work like all the back work and everything like that. Like, my mom is doing an amazing job.
So
I love my mom. Like all the back work, like that's my mom.
that's your mom. I love your mom, by the way. At what age did you know, like, yo, I gotta retire my mom? Like, people don't forget he's 15. He sounds like a good 27 to 32. Okay, but he is a strong 15, right? Like, talk to the people about your early goals growing the brand, and at what age did you say, yo, I got to retire my mom. I'm not gonna buy her a house or a car. I'm gonna retire her.
Since day one, like I just wanted to retire my mom. Like, I just always had that in mind. Like, yo, I want to retire my mom. Like, just retire my whole family. But when I was able to retire my mom, it was definitely something special. Ever since day one, I always wanted to retire my mom.
That's dope. Moose, can I ask one more?
Yeah.
All right. So, I want to bring this thing up because I literally, we did an episode bringing you up, saying one of the upcoming personal brands for this year, because I literally call you the comeback kid. Like, what people don't understand when growing a brand and a business, that thing is stressful. And for like somebody of with the expectations and the exposure that you have, right? Something hit you, but how you bounce back was amazing. Like I remember we were in Michigan.
Michigan.
Yeah, we were in Michigan, and you were like to me and Nick, like, yo, I have like this weight on me, right? And it was weighing heavy, and then months later we see you all the way fine. But there was things that happened in between. So I wanted you to kind of explain, like, even at your age, like the stress that happens when building this brand. Like, talk to the people about that.
So it was just like a lot. It was just like a lot going on at the time. It wasn't even like really like it probably was stress, but it was just like a lot of people say like Mr. Runway remember like I was in a hospital, just because like from travel, like I would travel like probably like 4 or 5 times like in a day, like travel from Philly to Atlanta, from Atlanta to Houston, just doing like things like that. Miss Nikki, you remember like
Yeah, we were
Michigan,
out there.
and then a bunch of stuff like LA. I did the Ellen show, so just so many different time zones, plus having to do schoolwork, you know what I'm saying, and then just keeping up on Instagram and different things like that, so I was just excited, and then plus just always just being on my P's and Q's as well. So I think, Mr. Runway always say like I worked myself inside like the hospital. Like I just was working so much, it was like on the monitors that like I had a seizure, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk at the time, just because so much was going on. So I was in a hospital for about like just 2 months, just getting myself, just like in the beginning, it was bad, like, but just working to get myself back together, but it could be like really stressful, like, running a business, like you being excited, plus like at that time, it was just me and my mom on the team. So it was just us working. So, us trying to enjoy time, plus, having to work and different things like that. And the brand is always getting bigger. So at the time, the brand always been going from like just going up, so like shipping orders and different things like that. Plus I had like my friends becoming employees and different things like that. So, I went into the hospital, for 2 months. It was like really like a sad time. And, a lot of times people don't make it out the hospital when things like that go on. So, God is great. And I'm just thankful for everyone who prayed for me and my family, who was FaceTiming me and my mom, and for everybody that was just there with me during the hard time for the 2 months. But soon as I got out the hospital, I was still, a little, just a little, just still coming back from getting out of the hospital. But as soon as I got out the hospital, I got right back to work. I got my headquarters. Within like 2 weeks that I got out the hospital. Like I got my headquarters, released my book, it was just bad go time, man. A matter of like a few months, I got right back. And that's what I was saying. Like 2020 was like really like a shaky year in the beginning, but soon like we ended it amazing, But the hospital was like a hard time, but I bounced right back and we back at it. You know what I'm saying? So now I just learned how to, balance sleep and don't never put too much work on yourself. And then also, just hire great people on your team. Sometimes we want to in business, sometimes we just want to do it all. I remember at one time I wanted to ship. I wanted to talk to customers. I want to do everything. But sometimes, it's just worth it for you to hire someone great to get the job fully done. And me even, doing a website and stuff like that. Yeah, I probably did it good, and maybe that was just something that I wanted to do, but it wasn't going to be like how an expert would do it. So, towards like not even end, probably like half of 2020, about September, August, like July, June, like when I hopped out the hospital, I started hiring all experts to the Spergo team. So somebody that could work on the website, marketing, you know what I'm saying? Just started hiring, so many people that could like like the brand is like 100% like a solid team. Like everybody on the team is solid and is experts. Like everyone has degrees at what they do, from accountants to marketing, to people on our marketing team, to, you know, people who do the website. So I hire experts now, you know, from the day to day. Like, you know, I don't do as much as I used to do. Now I'm able to, you know, relax a little bit sometimes. But my mom still be on me about
Still the comeback kid, though.
Yeah, for sure. It's like
Comeback kid, I promise you.
God is great. God is great.
Moose, he did a whole pop-up store and I mean, since coming out of the hospital, that kid's been on a go. But go ahead, Moose.
No, it's good. I'm glad that you're able to, you know, put things into perspective like that. That's powerful. But, you know, one of the things as I'm listening to you talk, man, I think one of the key themes too was like leadership. And people would probably sit back and say, well, maybe I'm too young to be a leader. All right. Adults even would probably think that. But even, you know, as a teenager, you see yourself in that light. Right? Talk to us about, you know, just this idea of like, leadership really doesn't have an age per se. You know, what does that leadership mean to you? Because now that you're in charge of other people on the team, hiring, all of that, right? There's still some pieces of leadership that come into play.
Yep. So leadership is super important, you know, just always from just watching the things you say and how the way you say it, you know, to different people on your team and different things like that. But, you know, I just really just bossed up and grew up, you know, to where I could be able to, you know, fully like manage a full team. Like, well, my mom really managed a team, but me, I still also talk to the team a lot. But leadership is super important. Like, you always need leadership skills in any part of business, or any part of a job or anything, because sometimes you might just get moved up, you know, and you just need to know how to play that role, you know. But leadership is super important, you know. Just always having leadership skills can work, you know, with playing basketball. Sure. And anything you do you could really use leadership skills.
That's good.
All right, as we start wrapping this up, Trey, you broke down how you're like, look, I hired a team, I don't do as much, but there's one thing that you did that not every 15-year-old does, which is you built a course based off what you've built with Spergo. Like, talk to the people about that process. Like, when did you know, I have to actually put this as a digital product? Because not many people who have clothing brands has a course. Not many people has, you know, different mentorship programs, things like that. Like, talk to the people. Why?
I started the program, you know. It was kind of like a thing, like it was just because in the beginning, I did not want to give away any of my gems. This year was 2020 was the year that I really started giving away gems, you know, start speaking on stages and different things like that. Because before, I was inside guy. I would go and watch Mr. Eric Thomas speeches and different things like that, and just use it for my business and different things like that. Now, and I just really don't just giving away gems, you know. But I got to a certain point where helping someone else's business, or helping someone else, you know, it's just a great feeling to have someone just to come to you, you know, to look up to you, you know. So you know, I just started giving away gems last year. And I put a program together. You know, it probably took me 2 weeks to fully record the program, plus a lot of back end stuff that went into it. You know, so it's a really amazing, you know, program. Yeah, and plus I was getting a lot of DMs every day, about 30 to 40 DMs still to this day. yo, Trey, I want to start a clothing brand. Like, I need help. Yo, Trey, can you help me out? And I can't answer to everybody because there's so many DMs, so I just put a program together that you could, go and get buildwithtrey.com, and you could just grab the program. There's so many different of my mentors on there, like Mr. Hum 500, Mr. Runway Billionaire, Miss Skittles. Everybody's on there, just dropping like about an hour worth of game, but I love the program, and it's really helpful, for any up and coming entrepreneur who wants to get into building a clothing brand, or even
tell them where that is
brand.
again. Tell them where that is again.
Buildwithtrey.com. Buildwithtrey.com.
Love it, man. Before we got on, I started talking to you about something that I see you putting out there for the first time, at least to my knowledge, and I'm like, oh, okay, hold on a second now. This might be something that Trey got up the sleeve. Talk to us a little bit about the music, man. That I really enjoyed, what you put out the other day.
So basically, I've been doing music. Like, I was doing music before I started Spergo. You could probably hear us just talking earlier. I was bringing up music a little bit, but I was doing music. I was doing concerts and different things like that before. It wasn't nothing like really big, but I was like in the studios. Like, the other day was like my first time inside a real, studio recording. And music, it was cool at the time. This was before I started Spergo, so I didn't really have the connects that I have now. Like, now I have like a bunch of different connects. I got the exposure, I got the fan base, and plus it's something that like I love to do. And, it's like a really great hobby, So that was my first time in the studio. Actually, the other day we recorded like 10 songs, 7 hours, and like a lot of my friends, like, they was going crazy. Like, they want me to release the music, so that's what we about to do though. And just go crazy. Like, I like. Me just hanging around the baby, Lil Durk and them a lot. Like, I watch and see like how they move, and I'm just ready to take off with it though.
He said 10 songs. Okay, mini Tupac.
7 hours, 10 songs. I love it.
Like, first time in this, in a minute. But I did 10 songs, But what? Okay.
Yeah, that was my first time like in a professional studio. Like, the first time I was ever like I think I've been to the studio 3 times before, and that was inside of like a basement. It was still professional.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like
those
you
producers work with like the top people.
Yeah. So like the producers that I was working with the other day, they work with like Lil Uzi, everybody major. Young Thug, Gunna.
Love it.
That's not light names, people. That's not light names. Okay, so you mentioned the fans and your fan base and everything like that. Talk to the people. I mean, besides having just a successful, clothing brand, like, talk to the people. How do you engage with so many people? Like, how did that grow, and how do you still keep a pulse on the people who rock with you online?
I try to get back to all the DMs I can. I be like always looking through my DMs. Also, I always go live, to interact with all my, I don't even want to really call them fans, just like everybody that's just rocking with us, like everybody that's just rocking with the Spergo movement. So I always just go live, let people inside the live, and it just be people that be like I motivate them every day. And, that's just amazing. And I like the days that I pull up to the Spergo store, the headquarters, like I make sure I post it. Like, look, I'm at the Spergo store today. Like, come meet me, and different things like that. Come chop it up with me. So
show the progress and progression.
Yeah, and I show the progress and progression on my page. So for all my new supporters, like I put it on my page so they could see like this wasn't an overnight success type thing. This was, and we still working. Like, this is beginning.
This is the beginning. Okay. You see the book. Where can they get the book, Trey? Where can they get the book?
Spergo.com. Once you hit Spergo.com, just type in book, and this comes up. Trey's Way, My Entrepreneurial Keys to Success. Released it last year. Sold over like 5,000 copies. Let's get it.
Sheesh. Yo, did we even talk about what the Spergo mean? Can we go through the basics real quick? Did we even
Oh
talk
yeah.
about that?
Oh yeah. So Spergo represents power, strength, and courage. And I came up with the name combining the words like sports, and then heroes. So basically the heroes would be ER. And not heroes like superheroes or anything, but like my positive heroes that I look up to, like Mr. Eric Thomas, Mr. Sean Diddy Combs, Mr. Damon John. And then I added Geo at the end because Spergo for the go-getters. It doesn't matter what your profession is, as long as you're getting up and working hard every day. That's Spergo. At the lion in, because Spergo stands for power, strength, and courage. The lion is the king of the jungle. I'm a young king. That's Spergo. Then we got a bunch of different campaigns that mean a lot of different things. So here's Spergo Billionaire. That's just affirming wealth and affirming, just a wealthy lifestyle and a wealthy brand.
Moose, last question.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about what are some of those other ambitions, man? Like what's next for you? As you talked about business, you talked about courses, talked about the book, talked a little bit about music. What are some of these other endeavors as you kind of look down the road for you?
The next oh man, it's crazy. You see, oh man, we got something like major coming in, like what month we in? February probably be like the next 2 days.
Quarter.
Like so for the second quarter, like it's going down, like it's crazy, like everything is still getting finalized now. It's about to be amazing and epic. I can't really speak on it, but just know Spergo is like coming to take over 2021. Like we already taking over, but the full like shutdown. It's a shutdown. We're taking over 2021. But I know for sure, I definitely could speak on this. I know for sure that I want to open up a store, in Atlanta, because Atlanta been showing us mad love ever since the beginning. Big shout out to Atlanta. Shout out to California as well. New York, everybody been showing us love. Houston, so guys, so after we finish up probably like 2 more stores on the East Coast, we're gonna come to the West Coast and get y'all some drip because I know y'all need some drip out there. But for the next and the next, just making Spergo more of that go-to positive brand. Like whenever I want to rock Spergo, whenever I want to rock something positive, I'm definitely going to Spergo. Like Spergo is number one, and it gets fly. Let's get it.
Listen. Man, first off, Trey, thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for the opportunity, Miss Nikki and Mr. Moose. Thank you so much, guys. Where are you guys at right now? Like, what's the time?
It's 9:20. No, 9:59 p.m. We here on the East Coast time.
East Coast. Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, we out here.
I know y'all be moving, so I ain't know.
Like, no. We don't move in COVID. We don't. You move in COVID. I don't move in COVID. Moose may move in COVID. I don't move in COVID. I have not really gone anywhere. I got one more small joint.
Let's get it.
So I don't want to call it out like that, but what was the biggest lesson that you learned from any of your mentors? Like one thing that really, really stands out that has like completely changed your mindset on things.
Just give me 1 second.
I had to stump you once.
Yeah, probably probably like Mr. E, like from the beginning, he always like, and he said this to me personally, but he actually said this to everybody, and he always say like, it's good to get up early in the morning. And me, I'm like get up at like 11, like a 10, 11, 12 type guy and just rock out with the day, but in the last few months, I've been getting into stocks and different things like that. And investing in different stocks and dividends and, real estate. I've been getting into things like that. And I learned that and it goes back to what Mr. E said, like you need to get up early in the morning for different things like that, and getting into these other like investment type of things. Just because like if I get up like at 10, 11, 12 o'clock, I'm missing out on stocks that then already hit up. It's already up 100% today. That real estate deal that I was looking to close is already closed because I wanted to sleep. You know what I'm saying? So that was definitely something that's amazing. Like the early bird gets the worm, you know, from Mr. E. And then also, you know, from Mr. E, just staying consistent. One thing about Mr. E, like he don't never like miss a day with posting. Like he posts every single day. YouTube, even though we're still in a pandemic, I still see his YouTube videos. I still see his podcast, and you know that's like me as well. Like just staying consistent, posting as much as you can, and you know just living life consistent, like on the schedule, and different things like that, which is super important. Every day when I wake up in the morning, like me and my mom, we started getting smoothies every morning. Like the smoothies when we wake up, and we just get the day started. And if you want to stay up late, that's on you. We still got work to do in the morning.
There it is.
I should end it there. I promise you I should end it there, but we got to do it the normal way. Look, quick announcement, everybody. Go follow Nicky and Moose on all the social media platforms, all that great stuff. You know, Tuesdays we go live on Facebook. Just turn on your notifications about that. And also, a lot of people have been asking, Nicky, how you been doing this like whole setup on YouTube? Shout out to all our YouTube viewers. Ecamm. Go to nickyandmoose.com/ecamm. You could have a free trial for 14 days. It's a whole vibe. Look, we normally make Moose do the final words, but Trey, tell them where they can find you, right? What platforms, and then final words for those people who just need like that extra boost.
Yep. So you can find me on Instagram. So you could follow my personal Instagram as CEO Trey Brown. So CEO as in, you know, just like a boss. CEO Trey Brown. And then CEO Trey Brown on Twitter. CEO Trey Brown on Facebook. And then for Spergo, it's Spergo Billionaire on Instagram, Spergo on Facebook, Spergo on Twitter. You know, just Spergo everywhere. Spergo.com to get your Spergo gear. You know, follow me on Instagram, CEO Trey Brown, CEO on YouTube, Spergo on YouTube, you know.
Spergo everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah,
give him some final words, Trey. Give him some final words.
Hey guys, just find your passion. Find something that you love. Find something that comes, you know, easy to find something that comes easy to you and harder to others. Find your passion, and once you find your passion, stay consistent and live and hang around great people and people that's gonna motivate you every day. Watch things that's going, you know, that's gonna help your brain and that's gonna, you know, help you have a successful brain. You know, so number 1 was find your passion. Number 2, stay consistent, and number 3, hang around the right people. Let's get it.